Welcome to Jumpstart Your Joy, a podcast that looks at the inspiration, intention, and actionable steps to help you jumpstart joy in the world, in your life, and in other people's lives. This is your host, Paula Jenkins. Welcome to episode 193. In this week's show, I'm really excited to be sharing an interview with Franny Burkey. She is a baker and a shop owner in the little town of Point Arena, California. Her shop, which she co-owns with her mom, Barbara, is Franny's Cup and Saucer, and you can find it on Main Street with a beautiful blue storefront and the most delicious baked goods that you would ever find. What I love about Franny and her story is that she really does infuse inspiration in everything that she does. And in this episode, which originally aired back in 2015, she shares about what it's like to have a brick and mortar store, how she infuses creativity and inspiration in everything that she does, what it's like to run a business with her mother, and how she approaches the hard work of baking and cooking in a way that is really joyful and positive. You'll find that everything that Franny does is just really infused with this beautiful positive energy, and I felt like it was a great time to revisit her story here during the 4th of July week. Probably in part because Point Arena puts on this amazing 4th of July parade every year, and while I won't be there this year, I do have very fond memories of being there with my family in years past. Before we get to that interview, I want to give you a very warm welcome and say thank you so much for tuning in. It's a real treat to get to do this show each and every week, and I really love being able to include stories like Franny's because they are so close to my heart. Franny was, of course, the woman who baked my wedding cake several years ago, and so we do have a very friendly relationship, and it's lovely to see her when we go visit Point Arena. If you want to find out more about myself or the show, you can head to the website, which is at jumpstartyourjoy.com. And if you want to find the links and show notes for this specific episode, you can find them at jumpstartyourjoy.com/Franny. Franny. While you're at the website, of course, you can also look for 192 past episodes, which you can binge listen at your leisure. There is a player inline on every page of the website itself, or you, of course, could subscribe. Jumpstart Your Joy is found on all of the regular podcasting apps. And if you do subscribe, then you will get each episode automatically downloaded to your mobile device so that you can listen as you commute every Tuesday morning. I hope you'll check all of that out. And without further ado, let's get on to this really great interview with Franny Burkey. Welcome to the podcast, Franny.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks for having me.
Totally my pleasure. I'm so glad you could make it. Let's see. So would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Oh, sure. I co-own a bakery in Point Arena. We've had it 2016. We'll be going into our 10th year, so almost 10 years now. My mom and I run it together. We just, do a really variety of pastries and all sorts of chocolates and jams, and then we also have kind of just like all sorts of like wild housewares and jewelry. It's a real mishmash of all of our favorite things.
It's so awesome. It's a real treat to be in Point Arena and see your shop, which is on the right side of the freeway, Main Street. Is it Main Street through there too?
Oh, yeah. Highway 1.
Highway 1. It's such a treat to see it because it stands out. It's a beautiful blue store. So would you tell us about what you loved most as a child or in school and kind of what were your early sparks of joy?
Oh, wow. Okay. Actually, my biggest passion and love as a kid was reading. Actually, I was a voracious reader. I'm also pretty introverted. Even now, I'm realizing. And so books were just, that was just I loved them so much. And now as an adult, I don't read nearly as often. Those years, probably 6 to, maybe junior high, 12 or 13, definite reading.
What were some of your favorite books?
Oh, gosh. Some of them are kind of embarrassing. I think I had every single Babysitter's Club book in like the series, which is probably like hundreds of books.
Wow. Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, super, high literary.
Yeah.
But gosh, I think, let's see, I really like the Anne of Green Gables series.
Yes.
See, Wind in the Willows. Those are some of the less embarrassing ones.
Yes. Oh, Anne of Green Gables is totally a favorite of mine. Yes.
Oh, totally.
Those are good books. I love Anne's sense of kindred spirits. Like that stays with me. So charming. From what I know of you, it seems that you come from a family of professional bakers / chefs, and that your mom had worked at Chez Panisse. What was it like growing up with, your mom as a baker and having that influence in your life?
Oh, it was really interesting. My parents, both worked like in the food industry. My dad was a restaurant manager and a waiter, and my mom worked actually for when I was, probably until I was about 8 or 9. She was actually a housekeeper for a family, but basically she was a kind of a personal chef. Like she cooked all their meals.
Wow.
Yeah, their schedules were really different. My mom worked during the day, my dad worked at night, but the way they made it work is like there was always one of them was home. So I got to spend a lot of time with both my parents growing up, which was really great. Spent a lot of time with my dad when I was really little because my mom was working days. And then when I was 9, they actually opened up a business together, and they opened up a bakery in Tomales. And luckily it was right across the street from our house. So even though they were gone really long hours, they were always really nearby. And my dad would come back from work in the morning. He'd come home and wake us up for school and get us ready and send us off to school. And then he'd go back to work again. And it was really, really a great way to do it and a great way to grow up.
Yeah, Tomales, that's up on, is that at Tomales Bay? It's up on the coast as well?
Yeah, that's
kind of the coast.
Yeah. It's like West Wayne County. It's on the pretty close to the ocean, small little town.
How did you like it? How did you like growing up in a little town?
I don't think I appreciated it as much as I appreciate it now, of course. I think we didn't have a TV. Like we had a lot of free time. And I think my brother and I, sometimes we went a little stir crazy, but at the same time, I think it really taught us kind of be self-sufficient and figure out what to do with our time and be more independent. So now I think it's really awesome. But, when I was a kid, I definitely had moments of being like, God, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do.
Yeah. It seems like, so I have a sister, and I don't know, for a while, when I was 10, we moved here to California from Minnesota. And we had a TV and all that in Minnesota, but it seemed like we had a huge woods as our backyard, and it seemed like it just inspired all sorts of creativity. We would make up games out in the woods and play with all our friends, and bored made us more creative or something.
That's totally true. I remember we'd call my parents at work and I'd be like, you guys, there's nothing to do today. What are we going to do? Figure out something for us. And my dad would say well, go walk over on so-and-so's property, go out to their pond and bring me back 3 plants from there. And we'd be like, oh God, okay, fine. Where we lived, it was all ranchlands. So there was a lot of space, it was all just fields and a lot of creeks. And there was actually 2 old cemeteries within walking distance of our house. So we'd spend a lot of time just wandering around, It was pretty amazing. And when I visit there now, I just go, oh my God, this place is so gorgeous. It's just so fantastic.
Yeah, that is a really pretty area. I've been through a few times. Had you moved to Tomales from the Bay Area?
Let's see. We lived in Mill Valley for a couple years because my mom and dad were both working in that area. Yeah, and then we moved to Tomales.
That's cool. Yeah. Was it a big change to move from kind of a suburban area out to Tomales?
Not really when you're 6 years old.
Yeah.
I guess not.
The world is basically like your house and your school anyway. At least mine was. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't really too different. Because I think, we moved there when we were young enough that we weren't really doing too much on our own before. And then we moved to this really small area where we were able to to the store, go visit our parents at work, walk to school. It was we could do all that in Tomales. And whereas I guess before Mill Valley, I guess it was different now that I'm thinking of it, But when we were younger, everything we did was connected to whatever our parents did anyway. So I guess it was more kind of an age thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Especially 6 or so, you're still pretty.
You're still pretty little.
Yeah, pretty dependent on what the parents are doing. I can't imagine Zachary really knowing if we moved somewhere else, what it would have been like.
Oh, totally.
Fremont. Yeah. So you and your mom opened a shop, your current shop, as you said, about 10 years ago.
Right.
And I don't know, I love it. Your storefront is so adorable and just welcoming and clearly well thought out and a labor of love. And I can't even remember the first time I went in there, but it feels like pure joy just entering your shop.
Thank you.
Could you explain the inspiration for Franny's Cup and Saucer?
It's actually not very, there wasn't a master plan at all. It was just kind of one of those things where my mom's whole philosophy is you just need to put your time into things that you really like. And if you really love it, other people will too. It's just it's kind of infectious that way. So, which I think is a really great way of doing things because it's so simple.
Yeah, totally.
It's still just it's a no-brainer. So we basically just go with we just went with what we really liked. We have really kind of similar aesthetics and taste. So most of the time, we usually agree on almost everything. And if not, we're able just to play off each other enough to just have a lot of fun with it. So basically it was just, all of kind of what we liked, just kind of mushing it together and kind of evolving it over the years, with the light blue color of our building right now, which I really love. When we first opened, it was kind of more of a pink and green, and then the paint job just wore out. And we were like, that's great because we're tired of those colors and we just pick colors we liked more. So, and I'm already thinking ooh, I'm kind of more into mint green now, maybe our next paint job. So it's always changing.
So cool. Yeah. And I know it says bakery above, on the top of your store. Was that lettering already there or did you happen to inherit that?
That was actually already there. And actually, since you guys were up last time, we actually got a new sign. So the bakeries are actually gone, which was kind of sad because they were so perfect. But we decided we needed to kind of have something that was a little more inclusive of our name. So we got this really gorgeous new sign. It's kind of cut out ovals where those bakery letters used to be, but instead it says Frannys. And then below it, we have a ribbon banner that says Cup and Saucer. And it's really beautiful. A friend of ours did it for us and he did a great job.
In your shop, there's always so many cool things, from toys to jewelry. And like you said, home goods. And how do you guys decide on what goes into the store? And are you the buyer or how does all that work?
Well, my mom is the main buyer. We usually kind of do it together, but she definitely does the majority of it. She does the bulk of all the hard work for that. We kind of definitely have changed the products that we carry since we first opened. A lot of it has been based on just what people wanted and asked for. People really wanted nice toys for kids that were, fun and well made. And there wasn't really any way to find that where we were. And because we have so many people coming in for birthdays anyway, it really tied in well together. So that was one thing we didn't initially carry, but we really, switched over and we have a lot of that stuff now. And then the jewelry part, that's just something that we both really love. My mom has such an amazing eye for jewelry. And people really appreciate that. We get so much nice feedback and, people saying I've gotten all my favorite pieces here. And we really try. One thing that is in a way it can kind of be a little limiting, but it's also a good challenge, is we try to keep things really, really reasonably priced. So most of our things are under $30. It just seemed like from, carrying different things in the past, that's a really nice price range for people, and it's really accessible that way.
Well, and I hadn't even thought about the birthday connection. I know my son, for the listeners, he's 5. He goes in there and he sits on the floor and he just checks out everything. So it's so it's cool because you guys also offer kind of a lot of things that are maybe like sweet and nostalgic, but I also love that there's an edge. Usually there's something very edgy, like a wallet with a skull and crossbones. Like you got one of those for him. Like I love that there's that balance of cute, but then kind of like, I don't know, the other, something edgy on the other side.
Oh, like sugary sweet,
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that. The donuts. Oh my gosh, folks, if you want to see some very creative and awesome, some creative flavors and awesome pictures, you got to check out Franny's Facebook page, and I'll link up to that. I can't even imagine how those ideas come to you. Like, I know recently you've had a chocolate glazed pumpkin donut, a butterscotch pecan donut, and the hibiscus glazed one. Oh my gosh, that looked awesome. Where do you guys get the inspiration for the flavors, and how does that come about?
Oh gosh, well, actually, I gotta say, like, social media is such a big thing right now for me, getting inspirations, like Instagram, which actually was pretty late in the game for that. I think like this year I just started using it, and there's just so many like creative people out there. Oh my gosh, it's mind blowing. So there's a bunch of people that I follow who are also pastry chefs, and just a lot of it too is just like hanging out at work and just like asking each other, like, what do you think we should make? We have this like jar of jam in the fridge that like we really should use up, and like, how can we use that? With the hibiscus donut, I think that inspiration came from, I think Derek and I, my boyfriend and I, we were in Portland in August, and we went to Blue Star Donuts, which is like a super awesome donut place. They're just delicious and just beautiful. And we had a donut that was a blueberry basil bourbon glazed donut, and it was this gorgeous hue of purple. Like it had this bright purple glaze. And we were just talking about like how cool it was that you can get so many great colors just from natural foods. You don't have to use anything artificial. And that made me think of hibiscus. And then I thought, well, what goes with hibiscus? And kind of just, it just goes from there.
Yeah, that is a gorgeous color. Like, I think
it's unreal.
And in the comments you mentioned, like, this is just a natural color that comes out of this flower. And I was like, whoa, like, so if people want to follow you on Instagram, I just found you. I don't know why I wasn't following you, but you're Franny's Cup and Saucer.
Yeah, easy to remember.
The other thing that I love about your shop, and I don't think I put this in the questions or anything about it, but that I'm gluten-free, and that one cookie, it's like a peanut butter and chocolate, and I don't even know what else cookie. I don't know. Hot damn, that is delicious.
Oh, isn't that a nice cookie? Yeah, that's one of my mom's recipes, and one of our employees, like, she loves that cookie so much, and she tells everybody about it. Like her whole story is that she doesn't care if things are gluten-free or not. Like, that's not her concern. Just that it's just like a great cookie anyway. And I think that's really good, because sometimes people are like, oh, gluten-free, I don't, it's not going to be as good as something that does have wheat in it. But sometimes it's better.
Well, and I don't know how and I'm not asking for any baking secrets, but
no.
you definitely have mastered the gluten-free that tastes not gluten-free. And so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all, it's all the stuff that's out there already, like all our recipes, they're just from cookbooks or magazines, and just stuff that, we might have tweaked a few little things, over time, but, it's no big mysteries of the universe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, because some of them, especially things you buy probably packaged, but they have that grainy texture that's kind of sandy or whatever. And there's no stickiness to it, because obviously wheat, for those people who don't know this, but is a binding agent. So when you drop that out, then you as the baker have to become more creative in how you bind the food together. So I don't know, you guys, you've nailed it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I've eaten quite a few of those kind of like granny cookies you're talking about too. And I just thought, oh, this isn't really my style. So, it's all about you gotta make what you like, right?
I know from personal experience that you make amazing wedding cakes. Because last year, almost exactly a year ago, you made our wedding cakes, and
that's great. Yeah, happy anniversary!
Thank you. Yeah, well, it was super fun to get to sit down and spend some time with you. I put in air quotes designing a cake because, you really did all of it. We just kind of said what we wanted, but our cakes, we decided to do 3, and just as for the listeners, which is kind of interesting because we have a 5-year-old son and we wanted to include him. So we had one for the groom, one for the bride, and one for the kid. And you made these, I'm going to have to put up pictures, but you made a Yoda and a rabbit and Lightning McQueen and a robot for the top of his cake. And that one went the fastest. And that was an amazing gluten-free cake. So thank you for that too. How many wedding cakes do you usually do in a year?
Oh gosh, I usually do anywhere from 1 to 4 a week. Although, we usually don't have a wedding every single weekend. But it's getting to be close to that though. But definitely, our busiest season for weddings is about probably May to October, and September and October in our area are a really busy time for weddings, maybe even more than the summer months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I do probably, I've been meaning to actually like go through all my records and do a count, but I probably do about 50 wedding cakes a year, at least, maybe.
Wow. That's so cool. It seems like September, October, is it perhaps a little sunnier up on the coast?
It is. There's less fog.
Yeah.
They're pretty gray and foggy sometimes.
You kind of get that whatever marine layer, I guess.
Yeah.
In the midsummer. Yeah. Yeah. October is a beautiful time of the year to be up there. And we lucked out that day was so sunny and hot even. It was crazy. What are your favorite kinds of cakes to bake, wedding or otherwise?
Gosh, I do really love doing wedding cakes with people because it's a cake or a job for me where people are pretty involved with what they want. And that's just, it's really fun to get to work with people, really get a sense of what they love and what their style is. And then to get to see it all come to fruition, when you deliver the cake and you get to see all the other details that they've been telling you about for their wedding, just all those little personal touches. It's so fun. It's great to see it all come together like that. Because a lot of times, with other jobs, which are also really fun, making birthday cakes and all those other things I get to do, I don't actually get to see it in its finished state. People come pick it up and it's gone. But with the wedding cakes, I get to actually see everyone at the event. I get to see, the bride and groom and all that. And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is cool. I hadn't thought about that you would get to see the whole thing. Yeah.
Although sometimes for your guys' wedding, the guests weren't there yet, but I got to see the reception area and I got to see the catering staff. So
yeah. That was a great day. And yeah, those cakes were amazing. I loved all the details. It was hard to cut. It was hard to make the
Zach's cake was one of my favorites. I really enjoyed making all the little figurines, and I was just looking at a photo of it the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I like that one."
I have to say, did you make it out of? Is it marzipan?
It's fondant, yeah.
It's fondant, okay. Because they're still in my fridge, right?
Oh, that's nice. I was like, oh, I wonder if they still have them. And then I thought, oh, maybe I won't ask. I don't want them to feel bad if they anyway.
They were such a work of art. I could not throw them out. I don't know what to do with them. Yeah, they're still in the fridge.
Well, from personal experience, I can tell you that they do last a long time, but they just continue to kind of turn more gray and funky, and eventually you're just like, oh, these gotta go. They lose their charm.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
They get kind of tacky and my lint sticks to them.
oh yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they'll let me know when it's time for them to
Yeah,
go somewhere else. But yeah, they were completely charming. And I think the robot, for some reason, like he was so, and I'll totally post pictures since we're talking about these guys, but he's so like perfectly retro and whimsical. I was like, I don't know if you used I don't know if you had a visual inspiration for him or if he just evolved out of your imagination.
I think I put together like a little board of like, like all the, because like with Lightning McQueen, like I hadn't seen the movie Cars, so I didn't know what he looked like. So I was like, I gotta make sure he's like the right color, and like I didn't want to mess that up because I knew that Zach would notice if it wasn't right. So yeah. I made a little board of all the little figurines I had to make, so I had something to model off of. Because I'm really visual, like I have to like look at it and be able to like know that I'm replicating it well. Like I don't trust myself enough just to go off the cuff, So I like being able to switch back and check out my reference and line things up with it.
What is your most popular flavor or combo for wedding cakes?
Oh, actually we changed our menu this year, a few months ago. And it's been really interesting. It used to be that our most popular flavor was one called the Marie Antoinette. It was a champagne cake with vanilla pastry cream and raspberries and raspberry jam. And it's kind of just like a really classic, like wedding cake. It's what I think of when I think of wedding cake. But we actually, when we revised the menu this year to kind of update it, we added a cake called the Barcelona. And it's a chocolate cake with a salted caramel mousse, orange marmalade, and chocolate ganache. And people have been really into that. Like we've done so much of that since we've added that. So it's a little more, it's a little less classic, but it's a little more modern because, everyone is really into salted caramel right now. And I guess chocolate is kind of timeless, but it fits all those cravings. I think it speaks to a lot of people.
Yeah, my mouth is watering just thinking about that cake. It sounds delicious. That sounds so good. This will be a fun one. What is the most outlandish thing that you've created, as far as baking at the shop or elsewhere, I guess?
There've been a few. There was one job that I couldn't take because I was too busy, but it really sticks out in my mind is somebody was having a baby shower and they wanted to order, actually the husband wanted to order a 3-dimensional cake in the shape of a baby to serve. And oh my God, like you're gonna be like slicing up like a baby to serve to your guests. Like I think that was his intention. Like he just thought it would be hilarious.
Kind of an ironic cake or something there.
I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like I do think it's funny, but I was like, oh, I don't know. And luckily, I couldn't take the job anyway, so that simplified the whole, moral quandary.
Yeah.
But let's see. I did make I think one of a wedding cake that I did actually quite a few years ago. It was a really classic cake on the outside. It was really gorgeous. It had ivy and fresh flowers, and it was at this really beautiful venue around here called Victorian Gardens, and it really fit that setting. But the inside of the cake was a orange and magenta tie-dyed marble cake.
Oh, cool.
The groom, that was really more his style, he just like, that was what he thought would be like, that really represented him. And the bride wanted something more, classic. So it was a cool mix of being able to do both for them.
If you will, the marriage of the two in cake, like, the symbolism, that's so cool.
And it was great that it looked so conventional on the outside. And then when they cut into it, it was like this total psychedelic, crazy thing,
How awesome. That's so cool that you could execute on it too. That is just beyond amazing.
And then, of course, all the cakes like that I get to make, like when you know someone really well, you can really, you can really go kind of crazy with it. And so I always really enjoy getting to make stuff for, like my family and for Derek, my boyfriend. Like his cake every year is always such a fun thing to get to, put together. And he always really like just loves it so much too.
That's very cool. Yeah. To be able to extend your art, and
Yeah,
maybe go a little bit crazier than you would in the shop. That's awesome.
exactly. Yeah.
It seems like you guys close shop a couple times or at least once a year and then take off to travel to amazing places. I don't know. I feel like you've mentioned Paris and maybe India.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite place to travel to?
It's really hard to pick a favorite. I mean, I love everywhere we've ever gone. One trip actually, which is yet to happen, but it's our upcoming trip that I'm really, really looking forward to is in January, we're going to Marrakesh for 2 weeks. And then on our flight back, we have 3 days in Paris. And I'm really excited about it because it's a family trip. My mom and her boyfriend are going, and Derek and I are going. So it's the four of us, and it'll be the first time the four of us doing something like that. And I'm so excited.
Well, in Marrakesh, I've heard amazing things. Like, I don't know, visually, it seems like such a very different and inspiring space than, for sure, California. But like, that seems really like exciting.
Oh yeah, I know the architecture and the textiles and everything, the food. It's somewhere I wanted to go, for forever, as long as I can remember.
Enjoy. That'll be so cool. And neat that it's a family trip. Do you guys tend to bring inspiration back with you on things that you want to, make or bake?
Oh, definitely. My mom and I always joke that like all of our photos are just they're just food. There's never any pictures of people because I'm like, oh my God, like we've got to remember this. Like this is so beautiful or this is so creative, So yeah, no, the traveling is a huge source of just inspiration for the rest of the year, things to make it work, that kind of stuff.
Do you bring back anything, spices or whatnot?
Yeah, I usually if there's something that like I've never seen before, I know, isn't something that's easy to get at home. That's like one of my favorite things to do. Actually, is actually shop. Things that are useful, like that's usually like what's in my suitcase at the end is food stuff because you always use it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. It is fun to explore new flavors and like just get a sense. Because usually even in a new space, like I'm thinking of Israel, like there were flavors there that I had never experienced before.
Oh,
And
really?
Israel's pretty awesome. And just, like immersing yourself in it and then realizing I wouldn't know how to come up with this. I mean, I'm not that great with flavors, but like I wouldn't know how to like reassemble this to make this amazing flavor now. So
I know there are some things you try and you think, oh, well, this has like a little bit of this has a little bit of this. You can kind of pull it apart and figure out how it's done. But some things you're just like, this is so out of this world. Who knows? It's just amazing. When I was in India, for instance, I took a cooking lesson at this really lovely woman's house at Shivani's. And it was all, really classic Indian food. Like, we made naan, we made pakora, those little fried vegetable fritters, the spinach with the paneer cheese. It was all things I'd had, so many times, but I didn't know how it was made. And it was the process of preparing the ingredients was so different than the way I would have done it, and it was so much better the way Shivani did it too. And she had all these little tricks about how to prepare the spices and at what point to add them, and it was really interesting. And it was all things like I'd made before at home and just thought like, oh, this is just so, but I didn't know why. Watching her do it, it was just like, oh wow, this is great, and it was so delicious.
I would assume owning a shop and living probably close by and all that, it could become something where the boundaries of work and free time get blurred. Has that ever become an issue for you, or how do you balance it?
That is a really good question because I've definitely, I think I've gotten a lot better in the past few years about like having set, kind of delegating my time more so it's not all work time. Because I mean, I really love my job, and it's kind of one of those things that other people have told me too. Like you're working for yourself, like it's just it can be really satisfying to put in a lot of time. But I have definitely gotten better about like 2 days off. Those are like free time. Like I don't go into the shop that often. on those days. I used to, sometimes I just, go on an extra day to get extra things done, or I'd like do extra catering things, or I'd meet with clients on those days. And I definitely like cut back on that. I think, living with a partner now the past couple of years, like he's really kind of said like, like you can't be gone at work all the time. Like you get a little more balance. And then, that's a really good point. So I try and like I delegate my time better. Like we have a internet connection at work now, so I can answer emails and do that kind of stuff while I'm at work and not come home and just do that all night long, which is what I used to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And also for me, actually, like kind of almost learning to say no sometimes has been really useful. And it is still really hard to do, but learning to say no and when to say no has been a good thing.
That is so hard. I think so many people struggle with that. And maybe, I don't know if it's women more than men, but I just feel like it's either I get caught up in worrying what someone will think if I say no, or I really want to do it. And so I say yes, but then I don't really have the time. So yeah, it can be hard for sure. A very sweet friend at the place where I've led retreats for a while. This one day I just said, well, I don't think I can do that. And she just looks at me in the most earnest way. And she goes, a no is as blessed as a yes. And I was like, I love that. I want that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. It is really, really tricky because you end up, sometimes if you overcommit to things, even though you've said yes, you're still not really participating in the way that you should be, if you're spread too thin. So I know, almost saying no can be better. Definitely. I've learned that a lot from speaking to my female friends though, and especially because, it is, you want to, I think we all want to, be helpful and be a part of things and, as much as we can, but you can't do it all the time.
So true. Yeah. What do you do for kind of time out, or like, how do you recharge your batteries if you're taking a break?
My day-to-day life, Derek and I, we have a really, really nice big yard. So we have a big vegetable garden and we have a lot of fruit trees. We do a lot of gardening, especially in the summer. That's a really just great way to spend time outdoors. And it's so satisfying, growing all these different things, and anything we have too much of that we can't use, we can bring it to the bakery and use it, which is really nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Because sometimes you plant like a gazillion zucchini and you got to use this somehow.
Yeah.
And then I do mixed martial arts a few times a week. I've been doing that for 4 years now. And it's just such a nice group of people, every week to go and just learn with. Sometimes it's a good way to relax. In a way, it can be the opposite of relaxing though, because you're really pushing yourself to your limits. But that in itself is a really nice feeling,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I run. I try to run every day before work, although the reality of it is it's usually not every day. But I do that with one of my really good friends really early in the morning. And we always joke that even if you don't do anything else the rest of the day, you've at least done that. So it's a really nice little balancing way to start,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just, taking off a nice big chunk of time a few times a year and traveling is pretty great too.
Yeah. And I think so many people don't, we all, or, if we're in a corporate job, that's the we all I'm talking about, but we have the time, but then it's so, I don't know why it's so hard just to say, oh, here come my 2 weeks off. I know too many people that, they end up cashing out on their vacation days because they've accrued so many. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's crazy.
Oh man. Well, I know it's not for everyone, but I really like it because I always love coming home, just coming home and being like, oh, this is my house. And it's really nice here. I miss this, and oh, I get to go back to work. I actually I'll start to miss being at work and I'll be like, I can't wait to get back to work and get back in there and start creating. So it makes me appreciate my day-to-day life more too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to have that perspective and the change of pace. What do you think would surprise people about your work or owning a bakery?
I think because it is one of those jobs that gets known where you go in really early, and it seems like it can be long hours. A lot of our customers say like, "Oh God, like this is like I could never do this. It's such hard work." And like, to be honest, it's not that hard. It's pretty fun. I was like, I'm not a morning person. I've never been someone who could get up really early naturally, but it just like I set an alarm and it's really loud and obnoxious and I have to go out of bed to turn it off. And that's just like my secret for getting up early. Like, that's it. Yeah. And the first 5 minutes of every day are really awful. Like that first 5 minutes when I'm out of bed, I'm just like, this is terrible. I hate this. But then it's gone. I brush my teeth and I'm like, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective of someone who doesn't like to get up early. Yeah. I like the first 5 minutes. Yeah. Nope. They're going to be bad.
Yeah. Okay, but and then they're over. And every morning I know, like, as soon as I get through them, it'll be fine. And it always is.
And when you say you wake up really early, how early do you wake up?
I wake up at 4:15.
Wow. That is early.
It's not actually like I'm not the early person there either. Haley, who does the morning baking, she gets to work at 4:30. So she wakes up at 3:30.
Wow.
Yeah. So she gets up even earlier.
And how far do you have to go to get to the bakery?
Oh, it's actually pretty close. I only live about 4 miles away.
Okay. That would be nice too. To not have to drive a long way. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's great. I mean, it's maybe, even though it's only like 4 or 5 miles, it's maybe a 10-minute drive because it's windy. But even then, it's like, it's no big deal.
Nice. So is there anything, we're about to hit the last couple of questions, but is there anything that you would like to add? Well, I know you do have a couple of dinners coming up that if people are in the area, they could totally go to. And one of them's November 15th?
Right. Yeah, we have one November 15th, which is actually, it's a benefit for the Pacific Community Charter School, which is a kindergarten through high school in Point Arena. And it's very volunteer based. All the parents of the students who go there, they volunteer a lot of their time, and they do a lot of fundraising. So yeah, our dinner is going to be benefiting Pacific Community Charter School on November 15th. They start at 5 p.m. It's actually, we see people next door to the bakery at 215 Main, which is the bar next door to us, because they have a really nice dining area and they have a little patio. And yeah, we've been doing these dinners for, I want to say 2 years now. And they're a lot of fun. Yeah, they always sell out. And yeah, we really enjoy doing them.
That is so cool. Do you cook the entire meal?
Yes. Yeah. I do the cooking. My mom does like the seating. And then Haley, who is our morning baker, does the serving. And it's really great. Yeah. And my dad is actually a bartender at the bar where we serve. So sometimes he's there too. And then Derek, my boyfriend, is a bartender there too. So it's definitely like a little family affair for sure.
Cool. Well, so the last couple questions. And thank you. Well, I guess first, thank you. Thank you for bringing so much joy into the world and for doing something that you love so much and just following your heart. I think it's such an inspiration.
Oh gosh, thanks, Paula. Yeah,
yeah, it's a real joy to get to cross paths with you. And every time we're up at the Sea Ranch, which I'll send a link to, I guess, because people may not know where I'm talking about, it's the Mendocino coast. But whenever we're up there, it's just... It's a must do. Like, we just have to stop in and see what you guys are up to at the shop. And I don't know, it's just a blessing to be able to be in that space and see you in action. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So if someone is listening and they have a big dream about how they could make a change in the world, what advice would you give to them about bringing their dream into action?
I would say, if you can surround yourself with, with people that support you, that will encourage you to do what you love, and also people who have, that are great role models who have kind of done similar things to what you, to what you would like to do. Just that whole positivity thing is so, it's so contagious, and the more you can get, the better, right?
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Yeah. And then last and most joyfully, what are 3 ways you can think of to jumpstart joy in your life, in the world, or in other people's lives?
Ooh, well, let's see. I always think, treating people the way you would like them to treat you is a wonderful thing. People are really interesting mirrors, and if you make that first step to be kind, and to be positive, people will give that back to you, even if that might not be their first way to do things normally. Like that'll always come back to you. And gosh, 3. Well, Paula, what about you? I'm sure you have so many. I honestly would love to hear some of them.
One of my favorite quotes, and I think it's Henri Nouwen, but I might be wrong. And it's that we must choose joy and keep choosing it. Like, I think very much that joy is a choice. And that even in the bad moments or the really hard times, like, interestingly, Amy Evazadeh, she's episode 2, said something similar. Like, some people might think that, I don't know, saying choose joy is like naive or silly, but I really don't think that it is, because I think it's not the simple way out. It's actually really hard sometimes to choose joy. So, yes. In a really hard time or a really dark day, I think choosing joy is the courageous and the brave thing to do, because sometimes it's super hard. So I think that's one way I think you can jumpstart joy, is just by choosing it. Let me see if I can think of another one on my toes.
Well, what you said makes me think of I think it's actually like a quote from Mr. Rogers, who I just think is a fantastic person in the world. But he said that that love is a verb too, and it's kind of the same thing. Like, you have to continually put work into it, just the same way as you would joy. And I think about that all the time. Definitely.
There's a song. It's a country song. It might be George Strait, but it's "Love isn't something that we have, it's something that we do." And it's this gorgeous song. I'll link it up. I'll send you it. But it's just like, every time it just makes my heart melt, because it's so true that, like you said, love is a verb, and it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just, it can, but then it's relationship or love is like, it's work. It's not just a given. So you don't I guess you do stumble upon it a lot of times, but then you have to nourish it, and so true. Oh, that's really good stuff. Thank you, Franny. This has just been such a joy. It's such a delight. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you so much for thinking of me to be on your podcast. It really was such an honor.
Franny, thank you so much for being on the show. It's always such a treat to get to speak with you. And of course, thank you for making the world's most delicious wedding cakes as well. If you want to find out more about Franny or her shop, or get any of the links from this episode, you can find the show notes for this at jumpstartyourjoy.com/Franny, and that's over at the website. And while you're there, of course, you can find 192 past episodes all ready to be listened to, either in the archive, or there is a player on every one of the podcast pages where you can just scroll through and see past episodes. It's also a great download for your road trip this summer. Coming up next week, I'm super excited to be doing a brand new episode. I hope you'll come back and tune in for that. And until then, I hope that your days are filled with so much joy.